Ukraine turns back surprise Russian offensive near Dorilia. Russian forces launched a surprise offensive in eastern Ukraine, deploying motorcycle troops in a rapid push roughly 6 miles deep toward Dorilia, a small war-torn village once known for its rich coal deposits. Although fighting in the area continues, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky today called the battle for Dorilia a success, crediting swift counteractions by Ukraine's defenders. Once Ukrainian military leaders realized the scale of the Russian breakthrough, the deepest in more than a year, they mobilized some of the country's most experienced units to halt the advance. Among these was the 1st Azov Corps of the National Guard of Ukraine, which took responsibility for a key sector of the counterattack. In an hour-long exclusive interview with TWWZ on Wednesday, Lieutenant Colonel Arsen Lemko-Dmitry, the Azov unit's chief of staff, described how Ukrainian troops managed to turn the tide using precise sniper teams and coordinated drone reconnaissance. He also warned that the battlefront remains fluid and unpredictable. In October, this was one of the hottest points on the entire front line, Lemko-Dmitry explained. The enemy broke through our first defensive line and entered the tactical positions of our army. They used motorcycle troops, naval infantry, and combined elements of the 8th and 51st Russian armies, around 100,000 personnel in total. According to the lieutenant colonel, Ukrainian reconnaissance played a decisive role. Our recon worked extremely well, he said. We used sniper teams and FPV drones. Because of this, we were able to intercept the enemy's assault plans. Several Ukrainian formations then combined to stabilize the front. At the beginning of October, Ukrainian forces established a joint command center, bringing together more than 100 commanders under one operational structure. We implemented a corps system, assigning each corps a specific zone, Lemko-Dmitry said. The commander of our assault forces joined this command post, which was set up at an Azov base. Different units contributed their own expertise. It was a collective success. He noted that Russian forces have reduced their reliance on tanks in favor of armored vehicles and small assault groups traveling on foot or motorcycles. Their usual tactic is to send a tank first, equipped with electronic warfare and anti-mine systems, followed by armored vehicles carrying infantry. Before the tanks, they sometimes send motorcycles to clear mines. We call this the tank fist, he explained. Once the tank fist breaches our defenses, Russian infantry rush in on motorcycles or light buggies. But this tactic costs them dearly. Every day, they lose hundreds of soldiers in what we call the meat grinder. To counter these assaults, Ukrainian engineers have built layered defensive obstacles and employed remote mining technologies alongside UAVs of various sizes. We always keep 2 or 3 tanks ready to engage at any moment, Lemko-Dmitry added. Russian setbacks and the collapse of the elite image. President Zelensky later said Ukraine's successful counteroffensive near Dorilia effectively derailed Russia's summer campaign, exposing the deteriorating state of Russian units once labeled elite. Russian paratroopers, VDV, redeployed to the Zaporizhia front to pressure Ukrainian defenses, reportedly faced catastrophic losses. Their mission, to divert Ukrainian forces in the south while a separate Russian grouping tried to outflank Ukrainian defenses from the east, failed to achieve any major breakthrough. Geolocated footage from the Orikhiv direction shows Russian forces launching a multi-wave assault with 26 tanks and infantry fighting vehicles near Mala Tokmachka. By nightfall, 22 had been destroyed, leaving survivors stranded in open fields as Ukrainian drones hunted the remaining troops. Many Russian soldiers had joined VDV formations believing they would serve as elite, well-equipped warriors. The reality proved otherwise. They were thrown into attritional, meat grinder assaults, small, uncoordinated attacks with minimal support or evacuation plans. The psychological toll has been devastating, as soldiers watch comrades die in futile assaults and lose faith in their command. Punishing surrender, Russia's brutal discipline. Recent footage underscores a chilling trend, Russian forces targeting their own soldiers who attempt to surrender. In one video, a Russian paratrooper emerges from ruined positions and surrenders to 2 Ukrainian soldiers, only for Russian FPV drones to strike moments later, ignoring the Ukrainians and focusing solely on killing the surrendering soldier. Another video from the Stepnohorsk area shows a VDV soldier raising his hands in surrender before being attacked by a Russian kamikaze drone. His desperate pleas are ignored as the drone detonates. These incidents suggest a deliberate policy by Russian officers to use lethal force against deserters, aiming to deter mass surrenders. When Russian reconnaissance identifies troops attempting to yield, artillery or drone strikes are reportedly ordered to eliminate them. Such measures reflect a deepening crisis of morale and discipline within Russian ranks. Analysts warn that if Russian command loses control over its troops' willingness to fight, desertion could spread rapidly. something the Kremlin appears determined to prevent through fear, even at the cost of its own soldiers' lives.